Hi class. On page 158 and 159, there is a sample Toulmin method essay written. It's called Offensive Speech is Free Speech, If Only We'd Listen by Stephen Carter. So I want to take a look at that on your paper. So this is the online version of the book. So this is actually page 158, but it says 157. So the page numbers are off by a number, but I just wanted you to see this. So here, if you see, there's the claim. There's information that leads up to the claim. I'm sorry. So then the claim is given, and then more context after the claim, and then there's reaffirmation of claim, the reasons, and the qualifiers. So all this is broken down for you in the essay, and you can see that it goes back to the claim, and then it gives the warrant. So this is how that outline that I showed you in the previous essay would come to place in a paper, and it looks like this way. So I want to read it to you. The government doesn't get to punish offensive speech. There's the reasoning message of the U.S. Supreme Court's unanimous decision Monday in Metal versus Tam, which struck down as unconstitutional the provisions of federal trademark law allowing the denial of registration for offensive or scandalous marks. The justices were able to agree on little other than the outcome. There are three separate opinions, not one of which in its entirety commanded a majority. So this is giving you some background to the claim, but they all reach the same happy conclusion. The federal bureaucracy is the wrong place to adjudicate questions of offensiveness. That's the basis of the claim. And then it gives more context. The case involved the effort of a band to register its name, the Slants, as a federal trademark. The application was denied under what is sometimes known as disparagement clause of the Trademark Act on the ground that slants is an offensive term of Asian Americans. The band appealed. A federal appellate court held that the provision allowing the government to make such judgments violated the First Amendment. Now, happily, the Supreme Court has agreed. Notice how the word happy is repeated. Happy meaning there's a content, there's a consensus, there's a reasonable agreement. It's really well put out that way. So here's the reason. It's obvious that the band's choice of names is itself an act of speech. All of the group's members are in fact Asian American, and they have argued from the start that they chose slants as an act of reappropriation. That is, they are taking a pejorative and revising its significance. But even had the band's goal been less progressive, the constitutional problem would remain. The First Amendment protects not admirable speech or good speech or likable speech. It protects speech. That's the warrant here. So here's the claim. The court firmly rejected efforts to save the disparagement clause, no matter how the point is phrased, wrote Justice Samuel Alito in his plurality opinion. Its unmistakable thrust is this: the government has an interest in preventing speech expressing ideas that offend the argument. 8 justices agreed is contrary to the First Amendment. So that's the reason for it. When I wrote about the case back in January, I pointed out the disparagement clause of the federal trademark law is a relic of the past World War II era, when the felt need to enforce a uniformity of values led to public and private efforts to curtail speech considered offensive. Comic books and movies were censored. Certain music could not be played. You could be arrested for cursing in public. Over the years, the disparagement clause has been used to deny registration for hundreds of marks, including Madonna and Messes, both for wine. and including pussy for non-alcoholic beverages. Most famously, the courts have recently used the disparagement clause to strike down federal registration of the trademarks owned by the Washington Redskins. After Monday's decision, the team will get its marks back. We live in an era in which expression enjoys far more robust protection than the post-war period when the disparagement clause was adopted. So this is actually a good history too, by the way. That's very good. That's a very good thing. True, not all the consequences of our freedom are happy. I wish the world were less coarse than it has become. I wish that our political discourse were more civil, that social media did not use outrageous or chaste clicks, that popular entertainment featured less vulgarity and raunch. But I shudder at the thought that our cleaning up things up is the job of the government. When we try to limit speech we find offensive, we put the decision into the hands of bureaucrats, exactly the wrong place. The same power that can restrict speech that hurts can restrict speech that gladdens. Alito acknowledged this point, and what was surely a signal that the courts should not look kindly on efforts to regulate so-called hate speech. Here's the warrant. Speech that demeans on the basis of race, ethnicity, gender, religion, age, disability, or any other similar ground is hateful. But the proudest boast of our freedom of speech jurisprudence is that we protect the freedom to express the thought we hate. So that's the warrant. That's how a warrant is used. And here again is the reason. Justice Anthony Kennedy, in a concurring opinion joined by 3 of his colleagues, put the point differently. Even speech we hate, he pointed out, can wind up teaching us. So here's a good reason. And then there's evidence. The danger of viewpoint discrimination is that the government is attempting to remove certain ideas or perspectives from a broader debate. The danger is that all the greater of the ideas or perspectives are ones a particular audience might think offensive, at least at first hearing. An initial reaction may prompt further reflection, leading to a more reasoned, more tolerant position. So that is a very important part of this paper. So again, what the Toulmin teaches is ways to strengthen your argument and to be clear and concise of what you want to say. So take a look at this sample paper. It's on page 158 and 159 in the printed book, and I guess here it says 157, but it's on part 2, chapter 3, structuring arguments, the last part. So take a look at that to help you figure out how to put together your paper. Okay, bye-bye.